everybody! Welcome to the second episode of Japan Stories, presented by Okashicon, and I'm your host, Julianne of Julianne in Japan. I am so excited to see so many of you here. Hi, Mr. Kenny Cosplay. Thank you for being our biggest supporter. Let's be honest, you are always with us. And yeah, those little snippet of what you can expect today, a tiny little taste of Gojira, or Godzilla, as you may know him in English, popping up. Let me run you through a little bit of housekeeping first. We have some new things to announce here at Okashicon. First thing that we have to announce is that we are starting a new addition to our monthly lineup. It's going to be monthly through the rest of this year at least, but for those of you who've been with us for a number of years, you know that we used to do anime afternoons, which were a 2-hour, fun-filled, family-friendly little activity over at Barrel of Fun at Alamo Draft House in East Austin. And of course, that is not going to be possible with COVID, and it's not going to be safe, especially for having little kids around. So we're going virtual for the rest of this year, and at least until further notice. Now, we're going to our regular anime afternoon schedule will be on the first Saturday of every month at 3 p.m. Central Time. And the next episode that will be kicking us all off will be Seifi Hakubi revising his classic anime panel. If you were at Okashicon at home, you may recall that he didn't have a chance to finish that, but now we're going to get the expanded and complete version of classic anime, as well as a couple other surprises. Speaking of surprises, today we have a giveaway of Studio Ghibli postcards. People who comment, and you must comment in the chat, will be eligible for a small pack of some random Ghibli postcards that we'll be sending out later. We'll have some kind of random drawing based on who's commented a little bit later. Yeah, catch things. We've already got some comments. Yes, catch things before it goes in the Disney Vault. Disney has been making things go into their Disney Plus and then charging extra for them. Ugh, it's a little complicated. But I do believe that the current Godzilla anime series is going to remain on Netflix. So if you're not up to date on that, you can still catch up on those. So it's pretty good. It's a little bit different for me, but that is quite cool. So again, to run you through the rest of our month, we have the first Saturday of the month is now Anime Afternoons. Then the second Sunday of the month at 9 p.m., we have demo discs with the guys over at Ninja Hell. Now, if you don't know what that means, and you're probably too young to know what some of that means, back in the day. So when I was a wee lass, we had things that were CDs. I know, like physical media that delivered to you, usually whether you wanted it or not, in the cover of magazines or, you know, in the mail. Remember AOL? If y'all don't remember AOL, you're not old enough. But yeah, PSN demo discs, that is exactly what they usually go through. They've been going through the PlayStation 2 demo disc recently, but I think some of the originals as well. So anyway, what a demo disc is a bunch of little game demos that were all sent together, compiled on one disc. They try to make it seem really cool and hip and fashionable and very, very 90s kind of way. So that is the second Sunday of every month at 9 p.m. Now, the second Monday of every month, which is usually the day after the second Sunday, but not always, I am back with my craft panel. It's called Make Your Monday. This coming month, we'll be talking about Sashiko embroidery and a little bit of an introduction to Kogen. As part of our series, where you'll be able to make gifts and create a card and also wrap them all before the winter holidays. Then, of course, we have the fourth Sunday of the month. We'll once again be back here for Japan Stories. Next month, I think I'm going to be talking about flea markets. So if that's something that interests you, let me know in the comments, because you know, I haven't quite decided all the rest of the topics for this year. I have had a couple of requests, so I'm going to try to get those. But if you have something you'd particularly like to see on this Japan Stories show, please give me a shout out. Let me know, because I'm here to give you your taste of Japan once a month. And I know it makes us all terribly homesick for a place we haven't lived, or maybe have lived briefly. But, you know, I'll suffer for y'all. It's cool. Please remember, we do have ad breaks that are mandated by Twitch. We do try to put them in inconspicuous places, but if you'd like to never have ads, you can subscribe to our channel. If you are a member of Amazon Prime, you do get a Twitch Prime account for free, and that includes one free channel subscription, which if you use it on Okashicon means you will never see an ad during Okashicon. We'll still take a few breaks occasionally. I need a drink now and then. non-alcoholic beverage because it is early in the afternoon. Let's see what else we have. Replays of all of these shows are generally available on Okashikon's YouTube afterwards. And in the case of Japan Stories, it's usually available on my YouTube of Julianne in Japan. If you would like links and notifications of upcoming shows, or if you'd like to ask me to send you the slides of the presentation that I've just done, I'm happy to do that, but you do need to email me at julianneinjapan@gmail.com. I'm sure that'll be going around the ticker pretty soon. At the bottom, you have to remember how to spell Julianne. That's the hard bit. Remember, it's 2 N's and no E's. Every month, I try to give you some video series recommendations, and I usually give you some YouTube recommendations, and then there'll be some book recommendations at the end of the show. So for the video series, for those of you who watched, this is honestly like there was a second half of a panel that I had prepared for Akashicon about going to Japan. So some of you, especially Lester Kenny Cosplays, already going to know, hey, Vidman, good to see you. I'm so glad you're here. For those of you who saw my Going to Japan panel, you're already going to be familiar with these two shows that I'm going to recommend. But if you are geeky and really into Tokyo in particular, then there are two places you have to position your eyeballs and watch regularly. One is Tokyo Eye 2020 with the great Mr. Chris Pepler, including guests that are friends of mine like Lisa Wallen and Phoebe and some of the others. Tokyo Eye 2020 was previously just called Tokyo Eye. Don't know if they're going to change the name back next year, but it is a little slice of Tokyo every week coming to you free on NHK World. NHK World is, if you're not familiar with it, it is the International Broadcasting Service of NHK, which is the National Broadcasting Service of Japan, a bit like PBS here, or BBC in the UK, and they have a free app. They're also available on a lot of cable packages, so you can watch them live. In fact, there's some shows like Mark of Beauty that you can only watch live, but they also have a lot of video demand, either through their free app on their website or on the cable video on demand packages. So video series recommendation is Tokyo Eye 2020. YouTube recommendation, y'all know, of course. Let me see if anybody can guess. Maybe you can guess. My husband tells me I have to wait about 30 seconds to see if anybody can respond. I'll give you a hint, and this is not this week's book of the month. It's last month's book of the month. This is the series that I recommend for you. This baby is finally in my hands, but I'm recommending Cakes with Faces. Go to their YouTube series because she has all the gachapon you want, more frequently than me. Absolutely. She did the t-shirt that I'm wearing today. It's lovely Tokyo. She has another shirt that I love that is all the best things from Japan. So yeah, I'm going to recommend her YouTube channel today, Cakes with Faces. Her name is Amy Crabtree. She is absolutely wonderful and fantastic. Last month, I recommended this book as a pre-order. Now it's available. This is, I guarantee, the most gorgeous guidebook you have ever seen. It's also a travel planner, but that's not actually the recommended book of this month, so you'll have to wait until I get to that. I'm just going to go ahead and check on the comments for a moment. Yeah, I love watching and reading their news on NHK World. That actually is really, really nice. I find that it's a lot less politicized. They talk about world news, the entire English-speaking world, a lot of things we don't usually get, so like Australia and other South Africa and things like that. Lusty Kind of Cosplay, hi Ashley. She's a very good channel for Japlanning. She has an entire playlist on planning your trip to Japan, and she does go to the geeky hotspots all over Japan. She goes to ones in Hokkaido. She goes to Denden Town in Osaka. That's mentioned specifically in the book. I haven't been there yet. When I went to Osaka, my friend, who you may know because she attends Texas Anime Convention sometimes, because she's from Oklahoma, she just dragged us to round one forever and ever and ever. So that was my Osaka experience. But as y'all know, I have been to the kitchen stores there. But yeah, she's really a fantastic resource for pretty much anything you want. If you're our kind of people, Cakes with Faces is a YouTube channel you should just binge. Anything else in the chat? Yeah, I mean, Tabi Eats, if you guys don't remember, my boys, watch my tongue not work. Shinichi and Satoshi of Tabi Eats are fantastic food bloggers out of Tokyo. They do travel a lot now. They're getting a lot of sponsored trips, so they are reaching out beyond Tokyo. They come to America quite often. Hopefully, we had originally planned, but then COVID happened. It didn't work. We're planning on taking them on a barbecue tour of Austin, hopefully sometime next year. So we'll see. Hopefully we can get Tabby Eats right here in the flesh. We're working on that. Maybe we can get that as part of the Okashicon Presents channel. That would be a big name for us. Okay, if there's nothing else in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my slide presentation. Let's see if we can get that up. There we go. I'm just going to note that this was actually the second half of the presentation that I prepared for Okashicon, although that one ran for 2 hours. This one, who knows how long it'll run. But there's a lot of things I'm not going to talk about, but I can flip back. Yes, haha, I see Ashley going, oh my God, yes, because maybe I'll get the boys here. We'll see. If not, maybe I can get Tokyo Drew here. It's a very distant second, but you know, sorry. Drew's my mate. It's fine. Anyway, back to the concept of the presentation. I can flip back if you have questions about accommodation and eating and travel and things like that, but I'm not really going to talk about that in this presentation today. This is a revision for any of you who all 3 of people who attended my panel last year, because I was up against the main speaker. I'm never letting them live that down. So you may, slight chance that you've seen this presentation already. If so, stay tuned because I've added some stuff because I went back to Tokyo again, got some more cool stuff for you. So just some quick notes. Like I said, I'm not really going to cover most travel-related questions. I'm not sure if that video has been posted. So the Going to Japan panel that was 2 hours long, I'm not sure if that's been posted on the Okashicon YouTube yet. We're having to cut down that stream into individual videos. But if it hasn't been posted yet, it will be soon. And I'm saying this as a nag to the person, the wizard behind the screen. Remember to post those things. They can't talk back to me now without getting on camera. So I'm going to be a little cheeky. I will mention, yeah, there we go. See the hide comment. So I will mention that there are 3 hotels in Tokyo that are super cool if you're a geek. Super expensive. Not going to lie. Out of my price range for sure. The first one you saw, the opening with Godzilla or Gojira, if you're speaking in Japanese, that is on top of the Hotel Gracery in Shinjuku. We will see more of him, another tiny clip of him a little bit later, but you can actually stay in a room that overlooks that giant Godzilla head. Like there's a cafe there and then there's a room on the other side and you can actually stay as part of that right there, up close and personal, in his face. Bit pricey. Now, for those of you who were here last month, you know that I did stay at the Hotel Gracery in Kyoto, and it was remarkably affordable. So maybe you can catch a good deal. I don't know. The second one I would recommend is the Henna Hotel. If you know the word hentai, yes, Henna is part of that. It definitely means weird hotel, or weird foreigner hotel, sometimes translated to we. Tried really hard to get my mother-in-law to stay there, and she completely refused. But it was just a block and a half from our apartment in Tamaikisano, so that would have been super convenient for us. But she was afraid of the weird foreigner hotel. But the reason why I mention it is because this is the hotel that has the dinosaur robot concierge that can check you in. And they have had some difficulties. They had to pull a couple of them out of service because the automatic AI translation wasn't working so well. We did have a question about the Hotel Gracery Cafe. Absolutely, you can go to the Godzilla Cafe without staying in the hotel. It is open as a regular lunch and dessert spot. So you can, it is on the same level as the Godzilla base, so you can't really see out into Shinjuku because there's a wall above that, but there's a terrace that you can go out and you can go, if you have dined in the cafe, you can go have your photo taken right up against the big Godzilla head. So that's quite a cool experience. The third hotel that I'll recommend is the Keio Plaza Hotel, also in Shinjuku. And that has a bunch of themed suites, very expensive themed suites, but mostly Hello Kitty characters. So that's quite cool. They also have Hello Kitty all-you-can-eat buffets and princess rooms and things like that. So it's great for girly otaku. And also it's not too far to get from Shinjuku up to Ikebukuro, which you'll understand in a minute why I say ladies in particular probably going to want to go to Ikebukuro. let's see what else we have. So it was difficult for me to split up Tokyo by topic without blurring the geographic regions, because most of the time you're going to one building and you've got all three of these categories, anime, cosplay, and ball jointed dolls, all in the same place. So this is going to be a big lump together of them. I do kind of apologize if you're only interested in one or the other of them. It just felt to me a little too awkward to just talk about anime and then come back and talk about cosplay in the exact same buildings that I'd already mentioned. So I'll be honest, for the most part, it's anime stuff. So one thing that you should probably know beyond Tokyo, in fact, there's a book coming out. I hoped it was last week. I pre-ordered it because I saw August 17th. Turns out it was August 17th, 2021. There's a book that'll be coming out that is Japan for Otaku, or Otaku Japan, something like that. That is going to be more about cool places to go throughout the entirety of Japan as opposed to Tokyo. And if you are going beyond the Tokyo metropolitan area, I highly recommend this website, 88 Anime Sites. The web address is animetourism88.com. It does change every year, so if there's been a new popular anime come out, they may add some locations if they're relevant, or if another one has gotten a little bit out of favor, they'll drop some off. So it changes slightly from year to year, so even if you've been before, you can check again. But they really do try to emphasize areas outside of Tokyo because they already know us, they know where we're going. But if you fly into Narita Airport, especially if you're in Terminal 2, if not, it's a quick train ride from the other terminals, but in Narita Airport, you'll see on this photo here that at the very top, I know you can't really read it, but that is the 88 Anime Sites Stop Zero. And so I have a video, but I'm not going to bore you with it, where you can walk through the whole thing and I could show you what the 2019 selection is. There's a little bit of a description of all 88 sites, where they are in Japan, what anime it was based on, and then often like a photograph of the real life site next to the photograph of, or next to a screenshot from the anime. So you have an idea of where you might want to go. There's also a website that I really like called Walker Plus, but it is in Japanese only. And so I recommend, if you want to look at that, that you have an automatic translator on your browser. I know that Chrome has a translation widget. Is it called a widget? Plugin? Maybe it's called a plugin. Anyway, it can have an automatic machine translation of specific pages. Please remember that automatic translation is not great. It can be quite uncomfortable at times, but that's really the best that I can tell you right now. I'm seeing a comment from Ashley here that Mandarake has them all, but I don't remember what she was talking about. So if you need me to elaborate on that, I will be talking about Mandarake in general. Wow, my headphones do not want to stay up over my bum today. If you want to elaborate on that comment later, I can go back to that. So this is just, again, the Anime 2020, sorry, the Anime 88 Sites 2020 edition. I had pulled that graphic up because at the time I gave this panel last year, they were doing a survey to see which sites they wanted to include for this year. Fortunately, as most of us can say, most of our trips this year were canceled. We were just commiserating because I was meant to be going in a couple weeks, and that's not happening, obviously. So I can't give you any hands-on information about the 2020 edition. Maybe they'll keep the same for next year, to be honest. The other little photos that I have there, one is my boy, my anime husband, is Hozuki from Hozuki no Uetetsu. I found him in a little place called Beppu near Oita. That actually, because the anime is set in hell and they have the 7 hells of Beppu, they have a little more of the Jigoku stuff than I'd expected. I was very pleasantly surprised. The photo on the lower right is a life-size, and I do mean character life-size, rather antique edition of the replica of the House of Gegege no Kitaro, also in Oita. So that was, I didn't really get to go to any of the other cool places in the other cities that I was in, not that are anime related. So Yes, yes. So Mandarake has all of them: cosplay, ball jointed dolls, anime, manga, figures, Gojiro. I'll show you that in a bit because Mandarake is one of the coolest places to buy secondhand stuff, depending on what it is that you're looking at. But I'll get there in a bit. So that is the 88 anime sites. That's basically the stuff outside of Tokyo, and that's all I'm going to say about stuff outside of Tokyo today. So, national chain to know. See, right there on the Mandarake. If you're looking to purchase anime merchandise, dolls, other, manga, things like that, please be aware that these will generally be in Japanese if you're purchasing from these shops. Because the actual subtitling and dubbing are done by other companies, usually American companies. Those are the ones that we work with Akashicon. Those are an exclusively non-Japanese release most of the time. So if you're walking into a shop, for the most part, you are going to get things exclusively in Japanese, especially secondhand items. It's going to be really unusual to get a secondhand English edition of anime or manga in a regular bricks and mortar store in Japan. You can probably special order them. But the national chains that you should definitely know and can order from for the most part, sometimes you have to go through a special reshipper, but you can still get stuff from them here, even while we're all trying to stay at home, is Mandarake. And I particularly recommend Nakano Broadway for that. We'll be getting into Nakano Broadway later, but there are about 9 Mandarakes in Nakano Broadway, and they have new but mostly used anime goods and manga. As let me see if I can pronounce your name correctly, Kalkite. I'm sorry if I probably totally butchered that. Hard to find or out of production figures, absolutely. I think I have in this presentation some of the figures that I purchased for my husband. He wanted Shinon of Sword Art Online, but of course Shinon had been several seasons back. It was a little hard to find in regular stores, but I got an absolutely beautiful cherry condition Shinon for about $20 in a Mandarake in Shibuya, I think it was. But Mandarakes pop up everywhere. They're all over the entire Japanese archipelago. You can find them lots of places. Animate, you'll probably know about Animate. I mean, it appears with some slightly variant spelling in a lot of anime that you probably watch. They have the new stuff. It'll be the recent releases. Although for some reason with anime, it's usually just after the season is ended. So if you're about halfway through a season and you're like, oh, I love this show, I want to buy merch for it, merch may not be out yet. It can be really disappointing if you're like really into it right now and you're like, oh, and I happen to be in Japan, let me buy this stuff. And then they're like, yeah, we got 2 things. And you come back 6 months later and they've got 102 things. So that's probably the one caveat I've got. Got some more comments. One piece I had to cross off my list due to timing was Tobuzu, which had a collab of Kemono Friends. Oh, that's really cool. Most famous for their saga of their Grape-kun, the penguin who fell in love with the cardboard cutout of Hululu. That sounds really cute. I have not done that one myself. The only zoo that I've had time to go to so far has been the Ueno Zoo, which has its own little panda, but that's not really, that's more that they've made anime about the panda rather than pandas from other anime. But anyway, back to my slides. Animate, y'all know this. We will talk about how they animate. Headquarters, big flagship store is in Ikebukuro, not in Akihabara. For those of you who don't know what I mean by Ikebukuro and Akihabara yet, you will in a minute. Don't worry about it. My personal favorite for used good shopping is a chain called K-Books. I do not know what the K stands for in K-Books. I have no idea. But that is used goods of all themes, and I do mean anime, idols, both Japanese and Korean, dolls. They opened an Itabag store when I was there in November of last year. So K-Books, although I think the Itabag stuff is all new, let's be honest, but I think that you can trade in certain supplies. But yeah, K-Books is really great for any type of geeky fandom related stuff. They've got a cosplay section, they've got a historical section, they've got all kinds of stuff. We have a comment here that is visit Animate before mom and pop shops. Found some Medica Soul gems there, cheap after I bought them 3 times the cost in an underground shop. That's interesting. I usually find that Animate is the most expensive of the options. Okay, I'm gonna have to move this in front of my bun. Sorry, bye-bye hair. I find the anime, because it's new and it's full retail price, sometimes that can be, you're not going to get a bargain there at all. If you're looking for something that's a little bit discounted, then some of the mom and pop shops, some of the underground shops can be less expensive. However, if it is brand new and it's only available at retail prices, then no one's going to be able to discount it yet, because Japan doesn't have the concept of sales. So no one's really going to be able to beat that price on that exact same merchandise. So yeah, I guess it would depend on how old the merchandise is. If it is a limited edition, then definitely Animate will sell it exactly at retail price. They're not going to mark it up or anything. Whereas the mom and pop shops, if they know it's limited, they can mark it up. Comment here, I have really had good luck at Surugaya. I don't know what Surugaya is. Is that a location or a shop? Please let me know, because obviously that is something I need to add to my list for the next store, or for my next trip. While I'm waiting for a response on that one, I'll just say there's also a store called the Reject Shop. It looks like Reject Shop. It's not. Reject Shop is actually a British chain that sells seconds of kitchenware and pottery and things like that. Ooh, don't recommend the Reject Shop. But the Reject Shop is new goods, and it's mostly the beautiful Bishi characters. All of your boy band anime, or like Diabolik Lovers, things like that. Figures for 100 yen. Tell us more about this Surugaya. We're finding figures for 100 yen, because the best I've got is at Nakano Broadway, and I think I spent 200 or 300 yen. So yeah, tell me. I need to know. Tell me. Tell me now, while I move on to the next slide. So for those of you who know a little bit about Tokyo, or if you've watched a lot of anime about Tokyo, especially if you're watch me completely blank out on the name. Certain anime about time traveling, where they crash into the top of the Radio Kaiken building. I feel like an idiot because I just can't remember the name of that one right now. You know it. I know it. Someone tell me, because I'm having a senior moment here. But lots and lots of anime that have geeks in them will have Akihabara. Now, it's also sometimes called Akiba. I will say it is never Akihabara. Pitch accent is a funny thing, and they will know immediately that you don't exactly know what you're talking about if you say Akihabara. No, it's Akihabara. So one thing you can do to not make yourself look like quite so much of an idiot. Believe me, you'll still look like an idiot in Japan. They all think we're idiots. It's fine. You don't have to worry about that. But Akihabara is the place that everyone thinks of immediately. It originally in the, I want to say the 80s, maybe a little bit before that, maybe the 70s. The reason why the Radio Kaikan building is such a historic landmark there is because it used to be ham radio operators would trade parts and exchange things there. No, not the girl who leapt through time. Steins Gate. The time machine crashes in the top of the Radio Kaiken building. And of course, when I was at the Radio Kaiken building, I didn't remember to see if I could get on the roof. Pretty sure they wouldn't have let me, but I didn't even think about that. Yes, I know this Sega is going bye-bye. Sega, the major Akihabara Sega is no more, and I'm not sure what they're replacing it with. So that is quite sad. I'm sure this is quite amusing to people who are watching this afterwards, who just think, I have just completely lost the plot, starting to talk about something else entirely. I am responding to the chat, so if you guys think that I have just jumped off into another direction, that is why. So again, Akihabara is the place that people think of. If they know one place in Tokyo that has geeky stuff, this is the place that they know. I will obviously talk about it first, and then I'll tell you why I don't like going there, and what your alternatives are. So Akihabara, pretty substantial area. It's where all the maid cafes are. There are chain stores. There's an Animate there that I think is 2 or 3 stories of a larger building. Not the entire building is Animate, so that's why I don't recommend it as much as some of the others. Some of the chain stores and even the Animate areas can be incredibly wheelchair inaccessible. So yeah, there's some serious issues there if you have mobility problems like I do. So that's probably my number one reason why I don't like it. I don't go back there unless there's something that I can't find anywhere else. But there's, it's a couple of miles, I think, or kilometers, if you are so inclined, that is just all geek related stuff. So I did mention that it started out as ham radio operators that were exchanging parts and things like that. It later became a place where DJs go and get supplies. In fact, in the Radio Kaiken building, there's still a couple of like DJ supply shops with like disco balls and lights and all the little knobs and gizmos you could ever want. In the 80s, it became a place for computer parts. So again, in Steins Gate and a couple of others, animes that are set like in the Showa area in the 80s, we'll talk about going to Akihabara to pick up parts for building their own computer, their own Franken computer type thing. And when we first went to Japan, that was what we were going to Akihabara for, because my husband was still really into building his own. Not anymore because we're old and lazy. But then in about the mid 2000s, so prior to, I don't mean the 2010s, but the mid 2000s, the first decade. Do we have a name for that decade yet? I don't think we do. But I'm gonna say 15 years ago, thereabouts, it started becoming more of the different kind of geeks paradise. And that would be the anime and manga, the type of otaku. Just as an aside, if you don't know what the word otaku means, it literally means at home. So these are just activities that you can do at home. It really is the colloquial equivalent of the word geek. So you'll have people talk about being like a tea ceremony otaku, what just means they're a tea ceremony geek. Like they're really, really into tea ceremony. But in general, if you say the word otaku without anything else associated with it, it means manga and anime, or, just people who might be on the socially awkward side of strange stuff. Guilty as charged. I have a comment from Sephi. Hi, Sephi. Funny tale about Akihabara. When I landed in Japan, I realized they don't believe in ground pins for power sockets, so I had to go find a replacement power cable. I could not find one in Akiba, but when I went to the Apple store in Harajuku, found it no problem. Yes. Yes. I will digress and tell you a little story. I can tell you that you cannot find a 3-pinned plug-in Bic Camera, which is one of the world's largest electronic stores, because the first time we went to Japan, after I became a user of a power wheelchair, we were coming to the UK, and so we needed a power conversion and a plug adapter, so from 220 volts to 110 volts, and I had a 3-prong plug that required grounding or earthing, as they called it in the UK. Could not find the adapter. We thought, that we'd just buy one in Japan. Couldn't explain it, couldn't explain what earth or grounding was. They had no concept of a 3-prong plug. They could give us a plug adapter, but not one that had a grounding pin, and so my enormous wheelchair did not charge. Nothing. We used it for a day. It ran out of juice. The end. My husband had to push that massive heavy sucker all around, or I had to walk on my canes as best I could. It was not the best experience for accessibility, and put us off going to Japan for about 12 years. I did immediately purchase a new wheelchair. Well, no, sorry. After we got home from that trip, because that trip was multiple countries and things, about 6 weeks later, the wheelchair was stolen. The car was stolen with the wheelchair in it. Like I said, it was a heavy sucker. Couldn't really get out of the car that easily. And then when we did buy a replacement, we bought one that could power in Japan. So that was a huge goal of mine. And then just before we went back to Japan again, started traveling again after access got better, the chair died. So that chair has never actually been to Japan. May it rest in peace in my garage. It's currently resting in pieces. It's okay. Okay, back to Akiba. There's not a lot of things that I would say that you definitely have to go to Akiba for, but if you're into maid cafes and theme cafes, you're going to find a far greater concentration of them in Akiba than you will anywhere else. However, they are often up or down a flight of stairs, so I haven't been to many of them. There are also the creepy vending machines. If you haven't heard about the Akihabara creepy vending machines, I'm going to save this as a little gift to y'all. Go on YouTube, type in Akihabara, or even probably Tokyo creepy vending machines. and go check it out for yourself, because it is unlike, I'm not talking about the ones with like ladies' pants in them. You can find those in Knockin' at Broadway. But these are the ones that have like really weird stories and things. It's odd. Yep, Charmander has done a video. I think Tubby Eats has done a video. I know they went with Drew. Maybe it was on Drew's channel. I know at least 5 different videos from that circle that have done the creepy vending machines. I think even Life Where I'm From may have gone there. I know Paolo from Tokyo has probably been. Anyway, yep, see, think I remember. I think, yeah, there's a lot of people. I even have a friend who went just to do one for me, so I can link you over to my friend Jules's, because she went just to check it out, just to scout for me. And then after she scouted, I was like, okay, I don't think I need to go. The other thing that I love about Akiba, and I'll just end that little region, sorry, my little regional overview on that, is that if you're into gachapon, which I definitely am, there are gachapon for miles. I mean, probably 15,000 gachapon machines just up and down the street. It is, it's absolutely gachapon paradise. So if you only have one place to go and you want to hit a lot of these different things, this is the place. The only reason I say that is because Ikebukuro is a little bit more spread out. So if you've only got like 2 or 3 hours during your itinerary to go get your geek on, I think Akiba is still probably the top choice for that, if you're not completely in a wheelchair. In which case, yeah, that's not one. So y'all are having a good time in the chat. I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about anymore. Sorry, I'll just leave it for a minute. Yeah, they can change machines out before you got the complete set. That's when you go. Here's a tip. If you are trying to collect a complete set of any gachapon and it has run its time, because gachapon are limited edition generally, if it has finished its time and you can't get the complete set, that's when you pop over to Knockin' at Broadway. Because in those secondhand shops, they got it all. They have the complete set. Sometimes they just, I think, I mean, this is supposed to be secondhand, but I suspect they just buy the whole box and then they repackage them up based on popularity. So the common ones are really cheap, and those rare ones, whatever that rare Urusei Satsura set item that was eluding you, it'll be there. It'll be $30, but it'll be there. And usually, pretty much the moment it has finished its run in the gachapon machines, they'll have it in some of these shops. Now, I'm just gonna, this is my small little, oh, I can't think of the word. This is my small little gift to the ball jointed doll community. I could talk about it quite a bit more, but this is in the Radio Kaiken building. If Leslie were here, Leslie, are you here today? If Leslie were here, she could tell you the names of these shops specifically. I don't remember them. I could look it up, but there is this one absolutely astonishing ball jointed doll shop in, I think, the 2nd floor of Radio Kaiken. And then further up, there are some of the DIY doll shops that have components. As you can see, you've got some of the dolls still on the sprues being sold. They've got all the components, the hair, the clothes, the whatever, to completely customize and make your own ball jointed doll, or sometimes not ball jointed, but your doll collectors. That is a really cool place to go. Yeah, look again, Lester Kenny Cosplay is saying Robot is a good place to find gachapon. Actually, I love Robot. We will be getting there in a minute. There's a couple locations, but I'm going to specifically talk about the Ikebukuro one. This is just an example of gachapon. If you're not familiar with it, just so you know that the word gachapon comes from, as you turn the knob, it kind of sounds like gotcha, 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 gotcha. And then they think that the sound of the ball dropping sounds like pong. It never sounds that cool, but that's where the name came from. If you see the word gashapon with an S, that is just the Bandai trademark of it. There's really no difference, but if you're searching online, gachapon is sometimes spelled with TCH, although that's more the way we would spell in English. Sometimes it's GACHA. That tends to be how the Japanese transliterate it more, because they have the character for ga and the character for cha in the English language. Well, it's a combined character. So that tends to be, if they're directly translating from Japanese, it'll be Gachapon. And then, however else we spell it when we're trying to anglicize it, because this is an onomatopoeia, it kind of doesn't matter. Everyone will know what you mean. But if you want to do a specific search, Gashapon with an S seems to be more popular, I think, just because Bandai has put so much effort into promoting their trademarked spelling of it. Whoops! And there's a video. Y'all see that? I forgot to take that out. That was just a little sample. I thought these videos weren't going to play inside of here. I don't know if you got the sound on that. If you didn't, you're not missing anything. That was just the sound of the gachapon dropping. Okay, now let's go into my favorite section of Tokyo for a million different reasons, not just this. One thing you may need to know about Tokyo is there's a huge line that runs around in a circle. You don't need to remember the name of it, but there's a big train line. It's not an underground, it's an overground. And pretty much all of the locations we're going to talk about are on this big circular line. So you can hop back and forth between them actually fairly easily. But I lived fairly close to Ikebukuro the last time that I was in Tokyo in October and November, and I was a very short bus ride away and was the easiest place for me to catch that line. So I wound up going there quite a bit, and I really, really enjoyed it. One of my childhood friends lives there as well, so I got to meet up with her a lot while I was over there. So I know a lot more about yes, it is the Yamanote line. Thank you, points to Mr. Ibiki. Y'all won't remember it. It's okay. Yamanote line is the big circular thing that goes around. But unless you're just trying to read up because they've mentioned the Yamanote line in your anime or manga, you don't have to remember it until you're actually going to Tokyo. But Ikebukuro has almost everything you can find in Akiba. Almost all of it. Same stores, more of them. It's nice and flat. So Wheel Tracks is a little bit better, although not great, because a lot of times these stores will have multiple levels and they may or may not have an elevator in between them. So be a little bit hit and miss. However, there are more stores that do have elevators than you'll find in Akihabara. So I'm showing you a photo of Animate here. This is not even the flagship Animate. In fact, not all of that building is Animate. There's an Animate cafe on the top floor, and there's a couple of floors of it that are Animate, but it's about, I want to say, half a mile to the Animate flagship. I'm looking at here. If you like mecha anime genre, Robokichi is different and chill-themed izakaya. I hope it's still open. Yeah. I don't know what's going to be open after 2020. We can hope. I'm not really sure what's going to, anywhere in the world, I don't know what's going to survive or not, but at least they have the Olympics coming up next year, so maybe things that do close can reopen. But back to Ikebukuro. I like it because Ikebukuro is the girls' version of Akihabara. It's not to say that men aren't welcome. That would be completely untrue. You can absolutely go no matter what gender you are. But Ikebukuro was set up, or a lot of these stores were set up because women felt uncomfortable going to Akihabara with the creepy guys. No comment. And so they have what is called Otome Road, or Maiden's Road, which is an entire row of shops that is specifically geared toward the female market. So you're going to be finding your exclusive boys love manga. We're going to be finding these shops that specialize in the boy band anime, or a lot of the Bishonen. Same stuff you're going to find at the Rije shop. You're going to find a lot of that, and also a lot of the cosplay stores, the cosplay festivals that I attended, which is 2 weekends in October every year. There's Sunshine City Mall, which has more stuff in it. That's where they had the Kawaii Flea Market, which, hey, if we get to talk about flea markets next month, and maybe we can talk about that one, although last year it was canceled when I was going to go with Missy Ibiki because of the typhoons. So, just don't have a lot of luck going on right now. Another thing about Ikebukuro is they're a pop-up shop. So if you're not familiar with the concept of a pop-up shop, it's a shop that's there for 3 to 4 weeks and then it goes away. So some places like the department stores, I can't remember all of the department store names, but it's the one on the other side of the train station from Parco. It has this whole sections on the upper floor that is just for these little temporary shops. And we happened to go to the Sword Art Online Alicization one when it was there. They also had one that was quite large for some of the K-pop merchandise, things like that. So you're going to find exclusive merchandise, usually some kind of display that you have to pay to go into that's like got some original artist sketches and things. I never really like to pay for that, but you do have to pay to go in there to buy some of the exclusive merchandise. So if it's something you really, really like, it can be a little bit of a struggle, whether it's worth paying the fee to get in to buy things or not. But yeah, a lot of the pop-ups are actually in Ikebukuro rather than anywhere else. There's the Pokemon Mega Center, if that's your thing. If you like a really rare Pokemon and you want to be able to find it, or your friends and family have asked you to get this particular one that you can't find in any other shop, it's going to be at the Pokemon Mega Center in Ikebukuro, or possibly the Pokemon Cafe. But I found that the Mega Center really has all the merchandise that you can get. Checking the comments again, absolutely recommend that you all check out the OtaQuest link. So yeah, if you aren't able to see the chat because you're watching this on the replay, Lister Kenny Cosplay has just linked us to otaquest.com, which is OTAQUEST, and it was specifically a link for Robokichi reopening, which is cool. Of course, we don't know if Robokichi is going to exist anymore. Another couple of comments from the chat is Sefi Hakabi said, almost bought the whole Pokemon Center, bought chopstick sets for my family. His set is the Kabigon or Snorlax set because he's a big sleepy gluttonous kitty. Aren't we all? I think you just hit a certain age and you just want to sleep. Or maybe that's just me. I feel like that's kind of the entire century for me so far, when I'm not like wanting to tear my hair out at the news. You can see it's already going. All the news lately. That's where my hair is gone. Okay. Let me see what else I have to show you about Ikebukuro, because I know I've got more things to show you. So yeah, like I said, there. I probably didn't put it in this slideshow because my photos weren't really that impressive, but there was an anime festival that was in early October, and it was, again, tended to be like children's anime. Apparently there was some guy who was like super famous because he'd sung this theme song to an anime that was 40 or 50 years ago, but everyone grew up hearing him, and he did a small performance, and I was there, but I was like, I don't get it. I never saw that, that anime was never translated in English. It was a kid's show. I didn't know, but it was quite cool. They have a lot of the voice actors come and do signings and things like that. But anytime you're going to an animation festival in a language you don't really speak terribly well, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite experience, but it was quite cool, and I did enjoy it. And I would recommend it if you happen to be in Tokyo in early October. And then in late October, they had a cosplay festival, which was way more interesting. The headquarters for that was in Sunshine City Mall, but people were just walking around all over the place in costume. I'll get to this comment on it later, but normally that's not acceptable in Japan. You do not wear full costumes. You wear merchandise, but not full costumes, unless you're going specifically to a cosplay event. And even then, you bring your costume and you change once you're there. But for this cosplay festival, the streets everywhere in Ikebukuro were just people who were in cosplay or friends that were with them. I have some video of that, but I'm not going to show you today because I haven't edited out the sound. It was a bit weird, just with all the people talking all around it. But it was an amazing experience. So that's the last 2 weekends. No, sorry, it's the final weekend in October and the first weekend in November. So around Halloween time. That was a lot of fun. These are just some examples of the types of things you can find in some of the shops. This happens to be Animate, if I recall correctly. Possibly another place, but I'm not sure what the one on the left is from. But, all your anime merch. So you can buy the DVDs, but again, they're going to be in Japanese and they're not going to have the subtitles for you. You can buy the manga, again, in Japanese. You can get it used or new, used at Mandarake, new at Animate, and a couple of other places. But I usually go for the merch because, hey, it doesn't matter if the merch isn't translated, you can recognize the character or not. I mean, we've got some, y'all can probably recognize all of the shows that are being shown off there. We've got some Boku no Hero Academia, or My Hero Academia if you watch the English title, Himoto Umaru-chan. I do love Himoto Umaru-chan. You talk about being a big gluttonous sleepy kitty. Well, she's just a big gluttonous sleepy hamster. I can relate, except when all of a sudden she turns industrious when other people are looking. No, can't relate to that. But everything you could ever want relating to currently running series, probably going to be available at Animate at full retail price. Now, unfortunately, there's still some characters I can't find, but that just means they don't make it. But if it's more than 2 seasons old, and I do mean seasons in like terms of 3 months, so if it's more than 6 months old, it's going to be starting to leave the new shelves and only appearing in the secondhand shelves. This was the shop that I told you, that was that big tall building on the left hand side. That is the Anime Cafe shop. They do have 2 floors that are not Animate, but they are cosplay gear that they also have advertisements for. And then the photo on the bottom right that's actually the doors of the elevator. So I always like to see an elevator. That's great. And then at the top there is the Rije shop that is in the Parco. So that's 2P's Parco shop in Ikebukuro near the train station. This is one of the pop-ups, and as you can see, it's all about the bishis that time. I have been probably 4 times, and it's just been different bishis. Maybe they carry some other anime series. I don't know. I've only seen Beautiful Men there anytime I've gone. So here's K-Books. This is my personal favorite K-Books. Why? Because upstairs, not on the ground floor, upstairs is the historical anime section. So you got my Hozuki no Ritetsu, as you can see in the bottom right-hand photo. For some reason, Yanko Sensei is there as well from, why can I never say a name? Natsume Gojincho. I don't know why he's in the historical section. Bungo Stray Dogs was in there. Let's see. Tokun Rambu. So all of the beautiful guys that happen to be set in historical times, pretty much in that one, except for Meiji Rinka Tokyo, which was in the like boy band section. I haven't figured that one out. But again, K-Books, that's my place. There are 13 K-Books in Ikebukuro. That's enough for me. Everything I want, I can find in Ikebukuro in one of these K-Books. Number 13 opened was the Ida Bag store, and that opened the day before I left, so I did not have any room left in my bag for space. But that is a basement location as well, so bit of a bummer on that one. Some of them do have elevators. They're all in different buildings, all scattered around Ikebukuro. There's also like 3 anime cafes, so a word of advice: if you're going to Ikebukuro and you want to find Animate, you cannot rely on just typing in Animate into your GPS while you're in Ikebukuro, because it will give you all the Animate cafes and you will be lost. So make sure you look up the address before you go. But back in that the big tall building, this was just one of the cosplay shops. Again, it's not owned by Animate. They've just rented space in the floor, but I mean, I've never seen so many cosplay wigs in one place, because this was one of 4 aisles that was just wigs. Again, some of the Ida bags from the Ida bag shop. Also, this is from Wigo, which again was in Paparco. But yeah, and if you go to, that was, as you can see on the left-hand side, that was from K-Books, where someone had a wonderful Atsugawa Ida bag that they've been collecting from Bungo Stray Dogs, and they were selling the whole thing. So yes, you could buy the bag pre-assembled, all the merchandise already in it, for a fairly hefty amount. I think the price is 17,820 yen. So that's about 178 bucks. I mean, to be fair, all those can badges do add up. Am I right? This is just a photo of what it looks like in K-Books. Now, I like it because their merchandise is pre-sorted out by character. So if you're looking for something, or if someone has sent you to purchase a specific character for them, especially if it's a show you don't watch, which happens to be a lot, they're like, hey, I want this guy from this thing. And I'm like, I wouldn't recognize that guy if he hit me in the face. They're labeled. So yeah, you can make sure that you're getting exactly the correct thing. So you can see there, the photo on the right is, of course, Hozuki no Reitetsu merchandise, including some very rare characters and some characters I don't like. And then on the left is, of course, Bungo Stray Dogs. These were all in the same shop, but all K-Books have the same format. You can finally go down there. Black Clover is also in the kind of boy band shop. I think they just call it the Otome shop, so like the girls shop. I don't know why Black Clover was in that one. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, was in that one. Tokyo Renka Meiji was in there. I don't know why. And the rest of it was all like idol band related merchandise. But still no Gordon from Black Clover. And of course, because there was no character, there's no section for his character, I knew they weren't just sold out. There was no Gordon from Black Clover. And my husband is still sad. Okay, do we have, and I'm going to stop for a second. We are going to have a commercial break shortly because Twitch does require us to run 3 minutes of commercials for every hour that we broadcast. I definitely do apologize. If you don't want to see ads at any time, you of course can subscribe to our channel. Or if you don't want to subscribe, you just want to give us a little something, something, you can throw some bits at us. It'll pop up a really cool icon in the chat. We do have a little bit of expense in presenting these, so we appreciate your patience. We're going to take a short 3-minute break, and then we will be back with Nakano Broadway and other cool geeky things to do and see in Tokyo. Back in 3. live. I hope we're back live. Thanks y'all for being patient with us. I hope everybody had a little bit of stretch. Remember to hydrate. We are about halfway through our time here today, or it's Twitch. We can go as long as we want. We can do whatever we like. Although I'm seeing still not gotten all the way over to there's more of a delay over to Twitch than I thought, but that is fine. I'm sure you guys are hearing this more than I'm saying it. That sounded weird. Sorry, scratch that. I did get a comment while we were in the break. So, Director Son, I don't know if you can pop it up on the screen for us, but Sefi Hakibi has asked, I always walk by women promoting maid cafes, but I wouldn't know how to begin attending. Do I just walk in? I'm absolutely not fluent in Japanese yet, and I'm not sure if my language limitation would make things awkward. That is a very good question, and I think it is a little bit intimidating to everyone. So if you don't know, if you're walking in Akihabara, there's going to be women dressed as maids or cats or just about anything, or people just handing out flyers for animal cafes. There's going to be people handing you flyers constantly. My rule of thumb is if they've handed you a flyer and you look like an obvious foreigner, they're okay with foreigners coming to their shop. If they don't have a little bit of English, they're just not going to give you that flyer unless you're like pulling it out of their hands. But if they're like offering it to you, they're handing it your way, they should be prepared to take an English-speaking guest. And in fact, most of the menus have pictures on them, and they realize that a lot of their core market, especially in the Akihabara section, is going to be foreigners. In fact, I'll be honest with you, native Japanese people are kind of burned out on it now. It's been going for about 10 years. The food is generally a little bit overpriced and maybe not anything special. You're definitely paying for the performance of the maids. And so the locals are kind of, they're kind of done with that whole scene. So for the most part, they are expecting foreigners to come. That's not true of the animal cafes. So like the Owl Cafe, the Capybara Cafe that I want to go to in Yokohama, that's a little bit less. It's still locals are attending that, and you'll find them everywhere. But the maid cafes in particular, I think they are expecting an English-speaking audience, so you should be good. We've got a comment from Mr. Ibiki. Better just shake your head with no thank you movement unless you really want to go, as they may try to deliver you. That hasn't happened to me personally, but I am mobility challenged, and I don't really get people kind of forcing their flyers on me just because I can't get in their shops. So my experience may be different from other people. But yeah, I mean, just kind of wave, nod, and go on. Because if for no other reason, sometimes they're paid by the number of flyers they give out, as if they think that the person accepting it is a genuine lead. And you don't want to like mislead them by thinking that, you really are interested when you're not. And again, Safi has responded, interesting, I absolutely want to go, just not sure if I should. I can actually suggest there's a YouTube channel called Simon and Martina that has gone, and then also Cakes with Faces. I believe Amy and Phil went to a maid cafe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did last year. They went to a maid cafe and they were able to video most of the experiences and things like that. Some of them are definitely well known. So I've got another comment saying, Lester County Cosplay says, one maid I was worried about, she had a bunch of bruises on her and some shady dudes close by. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely all sorts in this market now. You will find that there are some big names, some big chains out there. Certainly if you go research Maid Cafe, if they have an English website, I feel like they're probably more likely to be reputable. But certainly if they have enough of a reputation and an established presence, they have more to lose. So they're hopefully going to be a little bit less shady. Unfortunately, that whole industry can be a little bit dodgy. It's kind of odd. Sevi has also responded, the only cafe I've gone in is Kawaii Monster, when I didn't have to participate too much, but they had an amazing show and saw DJ Ku for the first time. Yeah, Kawaii Monster is a different universe, a different location in Tokyo. And yeah, that one's definitely cool. That's absolutely cool. I don't have it on my list. I have to say that my list today, I don't have a lot of cafes in there, just because my reason for not going to a lot of the cafes is because of my food sensitivities. And if I can't tell what's in the the food or the drink, because a lot of times the really cutesy ones, they give you some weird description that sounds more like it is a monster than food. I don't go just because I'm worried that if I accidentally ingest one of the things that I'm super, super allergic to, which happens to be very traditional Japanese ingredients like octopus, I could wind up in the hospital. So that's the reason why I haven't gone. If we have any other questions about maid cafes, I can swing back to that a little bit later, but I'm going to otherwise move back to my slides and talk about Nakano Broadway. Now, okay, yeah, Misty Ibiki said, I'll take you, Safi. Yeah, we'll take you. We'll go with you. I mean, I love omelet rice. It's my favorite Japanese dish. Or yoshoku, which is like the westernized version of Japanese food. I absolutely love it, and I will go. They're overpriced, but I'll go. I'll eat almost anytime. And October 2021, next target date. Funnily enough, that's our next target date too, if we can make it. If. Butler cafes. There is a ladies dressed as butlers bar that I know about. That sounds pretty cool. Again, I think it's in a basement, but still, it does sound like a lot of fun. Yeah, there's a lot of us who are thinking about going in the autumn of next year. So maybe we should kind of coordinate our schedules. That could be a lot of fun. But let's go back to Nakano Broadway so I don't keep you all here all afternoon. If you guys want secondhand merchandise at a discount. So this is the cheap stuff. You know, your figures are going to be a lot less expensive. They're definitely older, maybe back to 20 years ago type things. I'm letting y'all just talk in the chat for a little bit there, but absolutely an impromptu Akashikan meetup in Tokyo would be phenomenal. I'm pretty sure I could get at least one YouTuber to broadcast it live for us too, if you're interested. So I know Drew will do that. Drew will broadcast anything for me, so it's cool. But yeah, Nakano Broadway. A lot of people go, what is Nakano Broadway? They're like, is it in Nakano, like the city where they host Olympics? No, that's Nagano. But there is also a town called Nakano that is like 3 hours from Tokyo. No, Nakano is one of the little sub villages inside of Tokyo. It's about 3 or 4 stops up the line from Shinjuku Station to the west. It's not very far out. It's accessible by buses and trains. There's only one train station. That makes it nice and convenient. So you go to the Nakano train station in Tokyo, you head out the north exit, and eventually you will come to this big shopping center. Now, Nakano Broadway, Broadway in the UK is more like I guess kind of like Coney Island type of thing. It's like a pier with shops and food and things like that. No, Nakano Broadway in this case is nothing like that. It's a mall, straight up mall, not a high-end mall. This is a discount mall. If you go all the way out the back, you can find some really awesome Daisos. There's a Daiso in the basement and an old school Daiso with the green label and no English on the no Western characters on the label. It's a really good Daiso up there too. So, I love my cheap shopping. I'm absolutely addicted and obsessed. Just check in the comments. Yes, absolutely, Lester Cody cosplay. I cried at sight of all the magical girl wands in Mandarake. So pretty. It needs a sugar mama to afford. Yeah. One of the things about this, which I'll get into in a moment, is that there are some very specialist mandarakes. So remember when we talked about Ikebukuro, I said there were a lot of specialist K-books in Ikebukuro. But Nakano Broadway, which, by the way, is not very far from Ikebukuro. You can get there in about 20 minutes. And that is by bus, actually. I find that's the most convenient way to get around in between some of these smaller places. About 20 minutes by bus from Ikebukuro to Nakano Broadway. It is... it's super, super, super dangerous to your wallet. If you are like me and a little bit on the older side, you've been watching anime for more than 2 or 3 years, you like some of the older shows, this is where you're going to find all that stuff. So anything that is not available in Animate now, Nakano Broadway. Things 5, 6 years ago, Nakano Broadway. 15 years ago, Nakano Broadway. Original Cowboy Bebop stuff from 21 years ago, Nakano Broadway. So this is a mall. The first part of the mall, which I'll show you, looks remarkably not like where you want to be. Let me go ahead. Actually, I'll run through these bullet points really quickly before I start showing you the photos. So I said bargain hunters paradise, older and secondhand goods. There are lots of resale cube stores. Now what this means, we have like consignment stores in America, and sometimes we have like flea markets, and I'm using this very loose with air quotes, flea markets where people rent a stall or a space, or it's like an antique store, but every little cubicle is a different vendor. This is on an even more micro scale. So it's just a little glass box about this big, and people have rented this glass box. They'll put their figures or their merchandise in that glass box, and then there are stores that are nothing but these glass boxes. And so you'll probably have 50 or 60 different individuals reselling their old goods in these shops. So that's definitely where I've found, for figures in particular, this is where you're going to find good bargains. And it will list whether they still have the box available. You'll get that when you check out. There are, I think, 8 different themed mandarakes. Whoops, there's a typo in there. Apologies. There are about 8 different mandarakes, including one that is just for dolls, and one that is just for magical girls, and one that is the very old. We're talking 60 years or older. So like original Astro Boy, high-end, expensive, but it's a cool shop to at least window shop in. Also, Nakano Broadway is fairly famous for the adult goods. If you are into not safe for work gachapon, 4th floor Nakano Broadway. That's all I'm going to say. This is a somewhat family-friendly channel, especially at this hour. I will not elaborate any further, but 4th floor Nakano Broadway. Let's go in. So you first walk in as you're going in the entrance from the north exit of Nakano Station, and you're like, this is a regular Shotengai or shopping mall. You know, you see Rakuten, which is a cell phone provider. You see shoe stores. You see blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I'm in the wrong place. Am I not? Well, no, you're not. You just got to keep going. You got to keep going past this place. What you're seeing there is actually the roof. You got to wait until you don't see this fancy roof anymore and get into the main part of the building where there are 4 stories of stores selling mostly anime and manga related goods, not exclusively. There's some weird stuff in there. There's some secondhand kimonos that are really overpriced. There's some, well, a lot of unusual things. There's also some really good food down in the basement. So I know that there was an episode where Shinichi Tabi Eats was guesting on Tokyo Drew's channel, where they went down, and apparently you can get the best Nikuman, or a meat-filled steamed bun, in Tokyo down in the basement of Nakano Broadway, which I didn't know the last time I was there. So I'm going to have to go back and check it out. Here are some small samples. So the ones on the right-hand side is that super expensive, vintage, luxurious, old robot, Ultraman, Astro Boy, etc. merchandise. You walk through a series of torii gates. Those are usually found on shrines and temples, and this is sort of like making a pilgrimage to the origins of modern day manga, and the collections there are absolutely astounding. And I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars for some of these items. So unless you've been saving up for a long time or have money to spare, in which case please share, you'll probably not be able to afford anything in this shop, but they're used to that, so it's totally cool to go in and look. Everything's behind glass. They're not really worried about you nicking anything. You can just have a little bit of a snoop around, and that's cool. That is up on the 4th floor as well. Well, you're going to the 4th floor, haha. There's also an area outside one of the Kakigori cafes that you can have your photo taken in front of Nakano Broadway. I don't know why this looks like a giant Lego castle. Maybe there used to be a castle in the Nakano area, but this is just a little photo spot that you can attend. Here's just a small selection of some of the stores. So on the left, that is the doll shop from Mandarake. There is a cosplay store. You will see they want you to not touch any of the costumes, which is good. You don't want them getting grimy. A lot of shops, not in Nakano Broadway, but you know, other shops around Japan will have do not photograph sign. So please be respectful. If you see a no camera or a no video sign, please do respect that wherever possible. That is all I'm going to show you of one of the more adult shops up on the 4th floor. If you don't know what that English word means, I am not going to tell you. You can look it up on your own, but that gives you a bit of an idea. Those are sort of like gachapon machines, and they dispense random DVDs. I will let you guess what's on them. Okay, that was Knockin' on Broadway. Honestly, that's where I spend a lot of time. There's gachapon there. There's in the basement. There's some really interesting foods. It's where you get the 7 different flavors of soft cream. So it's a big old tall ice cream with 7 different flavors on it. Not great for the lactose intolerant, but it is a pretty cool place. There's a spicy chicken shawarma. There's all kinds of like food areas down in the basement, which, you know, it looks like it's grocery shopping areas, but there's some really cool food down there, which I've only barely scratched the surface of in my visits, again, because it's not labeled what the ingredients are. Lester Candy Cosplay says, my roommate got a DVD from that machine. Yes, we may have one from one of those machines. You can guess. I'll just let you guess on that one. I don't know what's on it. That's all I'll say. Now, if you had any questions about Knockin' on Broadway, you can go ahead and continue to ask them. But I'm going to just sort of speed through the rest of these locations because they're starting to, after this, they're starting to get less and less stuff at any one location. So, you know, we can go through them a little bit faster. If you don't have any time at all in Tokyo, you're barely sort of flying through because you've come in from the plane and you're getting ready to take a Shinkansen somewhere else, still, I really recommend Tokyo Station's Character Street. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's sort of like a little mini mall for a lot of the cool otaku goods. It is Tokyo Station, if you're not familiar, has massive malls underneath it. It's huge and it goes on for miles, and you know, you can follow the little signs to Character Street. These are all the big mainstream franchises. So Pokemon, Sanrio, Rilakkuma, all the TV stations. So TV Tokyo, NHK, Jump Shop. So for Shonen Jump manga, there's some little pop art, some little carts out in the aisle. I was there when they happened to have a fruits basket pop up. So this is all going to be your family friendly, your mainstream, your biggest names. And the shops are all quite small compared to the ones they might be elsewhere. But, you know, you can hit a lot of shops in one area, and it's especially good if you have children that you're purchasing for. So again, there's a lot of the Sanrio, the Rilakkuma, the Korute, a lot of other things like that. So that's quite cool. Here's just some examples of the Kyoruto. Sorry, I said that wrong. Kyoruto, which you may notice I took a photo of that just because it's cute animals and it kind of sounds like my last name. But yeah, that at the bottom, TV Tokyo, those are, I have one of those dogs back on the shelf behind me. That is Mamusuke. So if you've seen Japanese Style Originator that I have been recommending to you for a couple months now on Netflix, there's that scene at the beginning where a dog is waiting and then they're creating Japanese sweets in a slow motion food porn kind of thing. And then the dog is supposed to be delivering it back to its owner. Yeah, that dog is Mamusuke. And you can get your own little stuffed Mamusuke in the TV Tokyo shops. I think they're so cute. Also, I think that's also TV Tokyo, where you can see at the time they had some of Promised Neverland and other, you know, all these different anime are broadcast on different stations. And so if you can find the stations, they'll still only have the really big names of merchandise there. So it can be a bit hit and miss. If you're into like My Hero Academia, there'll be tons of stuff. But if you're into things like Dr. Stone, when I went to Shonen Jump, they had a very small selection. So, you know, it's not great if you're a hardcore collector, but if you just want a little something from your favorite shows, this may be able to accommodate you. There's also a Studio Ghibli shop if you do not have the opportunity to go to the Ghibli Museum. So again, there's a Pokemon store, there's a Gashapon, they call it Gashapon Street, that you can see the whole thing. It's a room. It's still cool, and it's definitely got some harder to find Gashapon in there. So that's right next to the Pokemon store. They're literally right next to each other. So that's Tokyo Station. There's also Tokyo Ramen Street, quote unquote, although I think that's just 8 shops. And I think honestly, I'm not even sure that's the best ramen in Tokyo Station, but that's again kind of cool. If you're into ramen, you don't have time to go down to like the ramen museum in Yokohama, two ramen museums in Yokohama. Um, there's all kinds of cool things to do in and around Tokyo Station if you have a little bit of time to kill. But I do recommend, if you are trying to catch a Shinkansen, make sure you stop shopping well and truly before you think you need to, because it's really hard to find your way out of this maze up to where the Shinkansen platforms are. So give yourself over an hour, more if you have to go buy an Ekiben before you get on the Shinkansen. So yeah, you're all in one complex, but it can be a long way to get from point A to point B. Next up, Skytree Mall. Well, you can see the Skytree there. It happened to be a particularly dreary day when I took that photograph, and I have not edited any of these in Lightroom yet because I am lazy. But Skytree is cool. It is in Asakusa, if you're not familiar, near the big Sensoji temple and things like that. There may be plenty of other reasons why you're going to Asakusa. And so if you are, the Skytree Mall is kind of cool because you get a lot of the same shops that you do in Tokyo Character Street, and some of them will have limited edition Skytree merchandise. I know that Rilakkuma has a very there's a Skytree exclusive little Rilakkuma that you can get there, and I have the Rilakkuma from Tokyo Station. That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, speculating on which cafes will still be open more than a year from now is not something I am capable of doing, but there's a lot of cool stuff in Skytree at the moment. Also, if you were with me last month and you saw the plastic food shops that are over in Kapabashidori, one of those does have another location in Skytree Mall. So you want to get yourself some plastic ramen or whatever, but you don't want to make a trip all the way to Kapabashidori just for that, even though they are kind of close together, but they're still, probably take a half hour to get from one to the other. If you're already going to Skytree Mall, you can buy some plastic foods in their location in Skytree. Let's see, there's more comments in the chat. I think I'm going to leave some of that to y'all, talking about whether Ame is going to let you do something or not. I'm staying out of that one. Okay, here's just some photos of the cute things that you can find in Skytree Mall. Again, you see the Rilakkuma store, and that was actually the Tokyo Station exclusive that I'm seeing there, but they did have Skytree ones. That's one of the ones I got. There's also just a lot of cute little stuff. They have their own little raccoon. I think it's a raccoon. Yeah, I think it was a little raccoon. It's yellow and it's eating a corn cob. I don't know. It's got its own little mascot just for the Skytree Mall. I did pick up one of those gachapon. So yeah, Skytree Mall is a bit of an interesting little experience, but it's not, I wouldn't go out of my way for it. But if you happen to be there, it's worth spending a little bit extra time once you're there. And I also will note one of the reasons I'm showing you the escalators there is that it's a little bit of a hilly area, so it can be kind of difficult to get in and out of the mall if you have walked from Sensoji. There is another entrance in from around the corner. So let me just move on again. These are going to be like progressively less things that you can do there. But if you are in Kabukicho, which is the red light district area of Shinjuku, first off, it's not nearly as red light district-y as it used to be. So you don't quite have to worry about that anymore. It's to the point where you can now talk about Kabukicho in a family-friendly afternoon show. But one of the things there is this big multi-story building called Tokyo Mystery Circus. Now, if you were with us when we started this program and saw the Godzilla roaring at the beginning, you may have heard me talking to a friend of mine, and that friend of mine was a Japanese native that I happened to go to high school with, and we were walking from Godzilla to somewhere else, I don't remember, and we just happened to see on the map Tokyo Mystery Circus, and we're like, what is that? I have no idea. So we had to stop in and go. And it turns out Tokyo Mystery Circus is a first-run anime movie cinema. That's one part of it. Escape room game center. My husband is obsessed with Japanese toilets, so that's why you'll see the poster of the Escape from the Toilet of Despair. Unfortunately, you'll notice that one is accessible in English, but a lot of them are not. We did not actually do that. I'm not a big fan of escape rooms in general, but I imagine if I wanted to escape from anywhere, it would probably be the Toilet of Despair. They also have a small shop downstairs, so sometimes you can find some very exclusive anime merchandise that you can't find anywhere else because it's been limited to just one location. I know that sadly it was just after I left and I was crushed. But I was born the same year as Hello Kitty, and they had a big Hello Kitty 45th anniversary Gundam 40th anniversary crossover last year. And all I got to see was the poster advertising it coming because Tokyo Mystery Circus was at that time closed for renovation. So I kept walking past it every day because my language school was nearby and it wasn't open. It wasn't open. And then I had to leave. And I never got any of that cool Hello Kitty Gundam crossover merchandise. Checking out the chat here. So Sepia said, also shout out to Cafe Asakusa Nikoen. We went twice and made friends with the owner. Her kitties are so adorable. I can imagine. I mean, that's pretty. All the cat cafes are great. Although when I go to Tokyo by myself, my husband says I can't go to cat cafes because it's cheating on my cat. Whatever. I still didn't go because I know the owners of Capybara Cafe, and they have capybaras and guinea pigs, and sometimes the guinea pigs ride on the capybaras. Anyway, that's enough of a digression. Tokyo Mystery Circus, pretty cool. Unfortunately, no subtitles in the Japanese run anime films, so I have not gone to a film there yet. Someday. Oops. That was some video, which I hadn't intended to play. Sorry, this was from a presentation I did previously. So next up, again, this is one I stumbled across completely serendipitously. I happened to be going from, I don't know, like my apartment in Akasaka to Ikebukuro on my own one day, and the train was kind of taking a while, and so I was just watching because I think I was trying to get there by a certain time, and I was watching my phone on the app, the GPS on my phone, just watching as the dot would move. And then I saw we kept getting closer and closer to this dot that said Tokyo Anime Center. I'm like, I have never heard of that. I'm gonna go. So I got off the train, went to Tokyo Anime Center. Very difficult to find the elevator exit from that particular station. Don't remember the station name, but it was a nightmare. But fortunately, once I did, it was very close to this actual location. The building that it's in is called DNP Plaza. DNP, I think, is like an energy company or a bank or something like that. It's a multi-story building that has like a little handcraft shop. I mean, like they teach you, they do classes, not where you can buy supplies. Otherwise, I would have bought stuff. Little bookshop, little cafe, things like that. Some pop-up exhibitions in there. But in the basement is the Tokyo Anime Center. And down there, they have little exhibitions that trains out about every month or so. And again, this is one where you would have to pay to go in to see the exhibition. However, you do not have to pay to go in the gift shop. So at the time that I was there, it was an exhibition of, that time I got reincarnated as a slime, some of the original animators' sketches on paper. I could see, as you're going down the escalator, you kind of see in over the top because there's like a cubicle area rather than a hard ceiling. And I thought that the sketches they weren't really compelling to me. I'm not really into that level of otaku-ness. Absolutely more power to you if you want to go see the hand of the artist. There's something quite powerful about that. No judgment whatsoever. But for me, that wasn't worth $20. However, whatever exhibition they have going on, and usually the last ones that they've had for about 2 or 3 years, they have limited edition special merchandise downstairs in the shop. So that was fun. I got to get some really cool things. I have a water bottle in the shape of now I'm blanking on everybody's name today. The goddess from is it Ronda trying to pick up girls in a dungeon? Is it Hecate? Or I don't know what they call her in Japanese, but I think she's Hecate like in Greek, but then I don't remember what she is in Japanese. Anyway, I have a little water bottle in her shape. That probably should be in the not safe for work section, honestly. But it was cute, and they had like dragon pilots that was neat. I didn't see any other Dragon Pilot merchandise. Norigami, I love Norigami. Did not see Norigami merchandise anywhere else. Hestia, thank you. Did not see Norigami merchandise anywhere else except the Tokyo Anime Center. Some exclusive slime-related things because that was the exhibition that they were currently putting in. They also have some very interesting art magazines, fashion magazines, and other things there. And then the bookstore upstairs has a lot of really cool publications. I have to be honest, I don't tend to buy a lot of physical copies of books just because I am full to overflowing. We'll talk about that again briefly when we get to manga. So I said that they have a cool little pop-up area in there. And at the time that I went, which I thought was phenomenal, it was this, I don't know if you know that there is a little short series of anime shorts about the Paralympics and some of the different sports that are going to be in the Paralympics. The Tokyo 2020 Paralympics that are now going to be happening in 2021. There's still the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics. But they were running the anime, again, with no subtitles, and then they had some of the profiles of the actors, and then also the actual athletes that the characters are based off of. So I thought that was cool. And then downstairs in the Tokyo Anime Center, they also had a series of, like the Ikebukuro sort of otaku map kind of thing, and some of the other museums that I will mention in the honorable mention section we're getting up to. And I thought it was a really entertaining, probably took me about an hour, but it was definitely worth it if you had some extra time. And no telling what their pop-up is at this point, but so there's an exhibition that is paid and a pop-up that is free that you can go to, and you can just sit down. You can see there's some screens. You can sit down and watch some of the anime, but again, no subtitles or anything. I will note that down there they had the first time I ever saw the smart gashapon. So for those of you who have been with me through my Going to Japan panel, I talk about these little prepaid travel cards like Suica and Pasmo, etc. You will also know that I tend to use the app on my phone instead of using the actual card. And I will just say I was so disappointed because the real cards work for these gachapon and the app on your phone does not. I'm crushed. And they did have some limited edition gachapon that I couldn't have gotten anywhere else, but it wasn't really series I was super keen about. They did not take coins at all. It was just Suica cards, well, IC cards. But thanks, Bandai, for not keeping up with the app system, too. Anyway, last, I think, is Odaiba, the big mall called Diver City, after Gundam Divers. Now, it is mostly famous for the Gundam base, and the Gundam base is phenomenal, and the giant Unicorn Gundam that is outside of the mall. Remember, there is another life-size Gundam currently in Yokohama. It has not yet been open for full demonstrations. The head has now been reworked and is fully functioning, but the body, although it was able to take a few steps, isn't like fully finished yet. So, right now, the best place to see a giant Gundam, which I will show you a video of in just a second, is Odaiba in Diver City. But the mall attached to Diver City also has a couple of other shops, very similar to the ones that you'll find in Skytree Mall or Tokyo Station Character Street. So, Hello Kitty. There was another shop that had, it's not quite gachapon, but like the little blind boxes of things. I have a collection of ones that's household goods, like it's like dollhouse size miniatures from sort of the Showa areas, like the 1920s and earlier. And the cool thing about that is you could go in there and you could purchase the complete set. So you're not buying 6 blind boxes, you're buying the whole 6 boxes in that set for the regular retail price, but you're guaranteed the complete collection. So, oh yes. And as Misty Ibuki says, the food court in Diver City is amazing. Probably some of the best omurice I ever had. It was phenomenal. Also, the Hello Kitty Cafe is nice. It's a green tea cafe, and I mean, like, all the food is green tea related. The 80s themed arcade, and then is all before you get to either the Gundam Cafe or the Gundam base. So I really enjoyed this more than I was expecting to, because I like Gundam, but I'm not like super into Gundam. I prefer Gundam Build Divers more than some of the others. Like, I don't really like Mobile Suit Gundam, things like that. It's okay, but it wasn't something I would have made a trek for. But I really enjoyed Diver City more than I thought, and I also enjoyed the Toyota museum right next door, which had classic cars and very futuristic ones, some of their prototypes and things like that. So if you're a car otaku, go next door to the Tokyo, which is free, the Tokyo Museum. Both sides of it are completely free. Here is the Unicorn Gundam, and if we can have the assistance of Director Sun in the background, you can have a very brief clip. I had the full clip, but you know, it's already getting kind of late in the day. A very brief clip of seeing the flashing lights on the Unicorn Gundam.
呢度喺度啊，嗰陣住喺度。
I could have shown you a longer clip, but I will say you might have been disappointed with that. The whole thing is a little disappointing. The only thing that moves on the Unicorn Gundam are those two spikes on its head, which go from here to here. That's it. Otherwise, it just lights up and it makes noise and it flashes. It wasn't even as cool as a Godzilla, which I'll show you more Godzilla in just, well, less Godzilla, I guess you've already seen kind of. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that is the Unicorn Gundam. I am really looking forward to next trip, which hopefully we'll all get to go hang out in October or sometime like that. Next trip to Yokohama to see the giant Gundam that will actually walk. So stay tuned for that. In about a year and a half, maybe I can give you some video. If you have not been to the Gundam base, if you collect Gundam or Gunpla at all, save up your entire fortune. The whole thing. Lester County Cafe says that she wonders if they've updated the ladies' room at Akiba Gundam Cafe. I do not know, but let's find out. Let's make a point to go look and find out what they've updated and what they haven't. But back to the Gundam base upstairs in the Diver City. They have everything you've ever wanted Gundam. They have character cosplay, and boy, that stuff is not cheap. They have a room where you can work on your models. They have an assembly room and a painting room, and they are separate, so you don't have to worry about contamination from one to the other. If you've watched Gundam Build Divers, the first season, not the other two seasons, Redive, that don't really have much to do with the first season, but the first season where they're actually sitting in the cafe, they're eating, and they're building their Gundam. That's based on this. It's based on this Gundam base and the Gundam Cafe, and it's, you know, personally, since that was the Gundam show that I liked best, I was really excited. My husband hadn't seen it, so he was less excited, but you can see they had the characters, cardboard cutouts at that time. I know kit backlog is severe. We still have not assembled most of ours. One of the coolest kits we got in the Gundam base was they actually have this here. This is a model of the plant where the Gundam models are made. And then you can buy a kit of the little machine that you see there on the bottom, which is the actual machine that makes Gundams. So yes, we have a model of the model maker, which I think is pretty cool, but we have not assembled it yet because we've brought back quite a few. My husband used to be a war gamer, hasn't been in a while. He used to work at Games Workshop, blah, blah, blah. So we have a backlog of everything that needs to be painted, and we may be bored during COVID. We haven't quite gotten there yet. So that was all that I have for those particular locations. Now your next question for me is, but what about manga? Did you say we're going to talk about manga? Manga, which would be the correct pronunciation. No. You want to know why? Because manga is everywhere in Japan. Every single convenience store, there are ads on the stations. If you can read Japanese, you can't go 100 yards without finding manga somewhere. You'll find the latest edition of Shonen Jump. Those suckers are big. So the reason why this is particularly relevant is I did mention I don't tend to buy physical copies of anything unless it's not available in ebook form, because I just don't have the storage space anymore. Even though, we're in America, I got a big house by Japanese standards. There's just not room. So right now I've got about 7,000 books in ebook form. Imagine what that would be like if they were all in physical. So I have not bought manga in Japan because everything I read can be found in ebook format. But manga is everywhere. If you can read Japanese, you're totally in luck. If you cannot read Japanese and you want the English translations, that's when Akihabara is going to help you a little bit. But my personal favorite is Kinokuniya Bookstore. Yes, we have one in Austin, and they certainly have been a sponsor of Akashicon in the past. We really love them. Kinokuniya Bookstore in Shinjuku, down in the basement, they have a travel guide section and a foreign language book section. That is where you can find the biggest selection of English translation manga that I'm aware of in the Tokyo area. Of course, they can all be ordered through Kinokuniya here in Austin, so you don't have to go to Tokyo for that. Anything that Kinokuniya sells in Japan, they can special order it for you here. So, maybe if you're looking for secondhand stuff, then that's when you definitely need to go to Akihabara. Some of the mandarakes there are particularly helpful. K-Books and Mandarake can have a lot more secondhand manga, although finding the English language versions of it is going to be more difficult. But if you are a student of Japanese and you want some of the easy readers like Doraemon and some of the early One Pieces, which are better for people who are just starting to learn Japanese, although Doraemon has a lot of weird sounds that he makes, so that can be weird. You're like, what's this word? It's not a word. So that's the only trick issue to some of the Doraemon early issues. But if you're looking for those, obviously it's hard to find the Japanese language versions over here for things that are out of print or older and you want secondhand. So definitely I would recommend K-Books or Mandarake for those things. Or if you want to sit there and translate it yourself, that's perfectly fine. And again, some of the Mandarake, like the one in Ikebukuro, they have an all boys love location. My husband does not go in that one. But yeah, certainly I'm going to show you something in a bit when I get to the book recommendation system section that's going to answer your questions on where to go for more specific things. Also, I would recommend, if you are into manga, the Astro Boy Museum. So it's technically the Osamu Tezuka Manga Museum. So Osamu Tezuka is the creator of Astro Boy. That is apparently quite a cool experience. I haven't yet been, but certainly when I was at the Tokyo Anime Center, they had a whole bunch of brochures and pamphlets advertising it, and it looked really cool, but I just didn't have time to add that in, and my Japanese just wasn't good enough. I was a little bit worried that I wasn't going to understand much. But again, that's more because I have a very surface level understanding of Astro Boy. If you're a hardcore fan, I'm sure you will absolutely love it. Also remember that there are manga cafes, which means you pay by the hour and you can read anything you want in there. I'm sure that some of the ones in the more major areas like Shinjuku and Akihabara will even have manga in English, but it will be a small percentage of the books that are available. And I know that there's manga at the book hostel. For those of you who have seen or attended my Going to Japan show, I talk about going to hostels, and there's one where they literally built the bunk beds into bookshelves, and then the assumption is you can read any of the books that are there. I know they have manga available. I don't know if they have any in English at that particular location. I do know that there is sort of like a manga library, I believe it's called, that is, again, you go in, you sort of pay for a pass for like 4 hours, and you can hang out on chairs, and they even have like tatami mats you can kind of lounge on and just read manga indefinitely. They don't have the cafe aspect of it. It's a bit more family friendly, so it's lots of kids there, but they do have an English selection there. So if you just want to sit and read manga for hours, there's several different options for you in Tokyo. But again, as I said, the language barrier was quite a bit of a problem for me. However, there is what I call the ultimate manga pilgrimage. This is a new addition to this presentation, so if anyone has seen this before, I only went there in November of last year. This statue is the manga Jizo. So Jizo is a statue who protects travelers. Well, sorry, it's a statue of this character in Buddhist mythology. Jizo is a character who protects travelers. He's a bodhisattva, as it's called. So he's not a god. He's more like equivalent would be more like a saint. He protects travelers, mothers, young children, firefighters. I don't quite understand that one. But, you'll usually see him with the red cap and the red cape, often to symbolize mourning the death of an unborn or young child. So you'll see them in Buddhist temples all over Japan. They created one in this particular area, which is Kohogin Temple. Now, this is, again, if you think about your map a little, you may not know what I'm talking about, but it's not far from Ikebukuro. You go to Ikebukuro and take a very quick little bus ride. In this area, can't remember the train station right now. I could look it up and get it to you. But anyway, in that particular area, there was a famous dormitory or apartment complex, we might call it now, where a lot of very prolific manga artists, where they became quite famous later, but when they're first starting their careers in the 1960s, they all happened to live in the same apartment complex. And so the nearby temple decided to commission and dedicate this statue to manga, basically, and it's become a bit of a pilgrimage attraction. The website there is wonderful because not only do they have QR codes at all these statues, but you can go there and it's completely in English. It'll describe the statue for you. You can see here it's even talking about what the different elements of the statue are, what it means as far as how it's connected into Buddhist symbolism, and also how it relates into manga. And of course, the mystical part of it is if you do touch the manga jizo, it is supposed to bring you luck in your artistic career. So I did touch the manga jizo, and I had my first exhibition in Tokyo. Not a solo exhibition by any stretch of the word, but I was part of a group show in Tokyo just a few weeks after that. So honestly, pretty good value for my career there. I'm just going to run through some very quick honorable mentions. Y'all can get your comments in. We have about 10 more minutes left. Honorable mentions here. If you're a textile geek, obviously Nippori Fabric Town is the place to go. I think there's not too many of you here today, so I'm just going to blitz on past that. But yes, that is fabric for as little as 100 yen a meter. So with tax, that's about an even dollar. There are places like Tokyo Hands where you can purchase supplies. Obviously, you can buy a lot of anime, especially Ghibli, Godzilla, and other merchandise at the discount store Don Quixote. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with that. You can see my Daiso and Don Quixote haul at the top. Actually, that was a Daiso haul at the top. The Daiso, definitely, I mean, I could do an entire show. Hopefully, we will do an entire show on Daiso when it opens here in Austin. Finally, I will mention we have another short video of the Gojira or Godzilla. We have the Studio Ghibli clock. If you're not familiar with it, is it a cool steampunk clock? We will be ending our show on that. And also round one is the big chain or other lots of, Sega chains. There's lots of really awesome places if you're a gamer to go in Tokyo. Now, I am going to switch. Well, actually, we're going to run this Godzilla video if we can get that up, and then we'll finish off with the slides in just a second. Over the eyes. There we go. So yeah, I am a dreadful videographer, but that gives you a small sample. I believe the Godzilla goes off 4 to 6 times a day. I think it's every other hour on the hour. And of course, he's at the end of Godzilla Street. And the hotel that you can see behind his head is the Hotel Gracery Shinjuku. I love the fact that in this photo, Godzilla is eating the Avengers. So this is the end of the formal presentation. Matane, Tokyo. We will see you again, hopefully next year. I am going to say that as you are leaving Tokyo, there's still a few more places that you can purchase things, especially if you go through Narita Airport. There's some cool specialty shops there. Final tips. Ita bags, if that is your thing, which it is mine. It's only acceptable in otaku areas, so only carrying them around with you if you're in Akihabara and Ikebukuro, if you're in Denden Town in Osaka, or that type of thing. Never cosplay in the street, except at the cosplay festival, only in designated areas, but you can wear fandom clothing at any time. No, please don't put that up. Sorry, we're not ready for that video yet. Apologies. Check out each floor of a multi-story shop because there will be lots of different stores in there. It's not the way it works in America. It's not like you walk into a Dillard's and the whole thing is Dillard's. They're all like different little shops. If you're into gachapon, do check out the Yodobashi Camera's secret lair underground. And beware of pachinko parlors and casinos. They may have huge ads for anime products, but yeah, you're gambling and you're betting on them. This is how to contact me. If you're interested, you might just want to snapshot that, screenshot that. I am going to switch over now to a book that I recommend. So give me just a second because I have to switch my screen share to another screen share. I'm going to write overtime again. I hope y'all don't mind. Is everybody okay with me going a little bit longer than 4 o'clock? Otherwise, complain in the comments, but otherwise I may take a little bit of extra time. So hopefully you're getting my screen share. Are we going? Are we going? There we go. Okay, so I have 3 books that I will suggest to you if you are this type of person, and by this type of person, I mean our type of person. Not only, obviously, the Your Guide to Japan by Case with Faces, which I've already recommended before, but these are 3 ebooks that I have. Remember, I prefer ebooks. There's one that is called A Geek in Japan. You think, well, that sounds awesome. And I honestly am showing you this first because it's not so awesome. I don't know how well you can see the table of contents on the left there, but you'll notice that the world of manga and anime is only 1 chapter out of that book. So I really was not, I mean, it's okay, but certainly they're more talking about Zen and tea ceremony and, you know, traditional arts, which I was quite cool on, modern Japanese music, movies, television, all kinds of things. So if your interests are much broader, that book may be for you, but it was not really for me. If you're into manga, now, you know, I barely touched on any manga there, and I apologize, but here is why, because I have got for you the Manga Lovers Tokyo Travel Guide, and this is going to tell you, in fact, the entire book. Let me see if I can get into the entire book is a manga. So it is going to tell you in a manga format how to go see cool manga stuff in Tokyo. So I'm just going to go very quickly through here, but it's got a whole list of things to say, not just manga related things. Obviously, some of these are just general guides to traveling around, you know, the geekier areas, but like specific shrines and temples and things like that, going to Asakusa. I really enjoyed this book. I don't like it so much in ebook format because you can see it does really weird formatting. So this may be one that you want to get in a physical copy if you want. But the book recommendation for the month, the one that I officially recommend as your best choice, is this one, Tokyo Geeks Guide. This is the one where the Otaku Guide to Japan I thought was coming out this month. It's not coming out till next year. It's the same guy. This one is absolutely going to answer any question I didn't answer because it's going entirely around Tokyo. And this is area by area. So it's great if you're certainly staying in a particular place, if you want to know about the robot restaurant, if you want to know about certain, you know, obviously there's a lot more text here, so it's kind of harder for me to explain. But it's going through Akihabara, Harajuku, Shibuya, Shimokitazawa, etc., 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 Shinjuku West, Nakano. So yeah, I'm just going to go back to the cover now. My recommended book of the month, 100%, is Tokyo Geeks Guide by Gianni Simone. Obviously, he is Italian, but the book is in English. I'm just going to ask if there are any further questions. If we can put the screen back to my face in full, we're about to finish up for the day. We are having a giveaway. Remember, we said if you make a comment at some point during the show, then somehow our director behind the camera will find out who is winning. I'm hoping I'm not the one who has to choose that, but hopefully that is going to be, hopefully I'm going to get a little comment in my ear. Let me see. Nope. Okay, apparently, instead, we have changed. We have an announcement. It's pretty awesome. Everyone who has attended live, if you send an email to info@akashicon.com, I'm not sure if that can come up on a ticker, but hopefully since you're on our Akashicon Twitch, you know how to spell Akashicon. So info@akashicon.com, you will be mailed a Studio Ghibli postcard. So you have all won. We have 11 people who are here right now. If all 11 of you mail, this is one of the rare exceptions where we don't mind if you're international, because it's only a few cents more to mail. So please go ahead, send that email to Akashicon with your address, and we will send you a Studio Ghibli postcard. We will be having them also in future episodes, so be sure to come back again. I'm just going to briefly wrap up because otherwise we're going to hit commercials. Remember, the first Saturday of the month, we have, which I believe is the 3rd of September, we have Classic Anime with Steffi Huckabee coming up. Second Sunday of the month at 9 p.m., we have the Demo Disc Guys. Second Monday of the month with me at 7:30 p.m., we are talking about Sashiko. And fourth Sunday of the month, next month, so this time again, next month at 2 p.m., I think we're going to talk about flea markets, unless you guys have something else you'd like for me to cover. I really enjoy flea markets, farmers markets, things like that. Yes, all you need to include is your mailing address or whatever name that needs to be on it so that the post office can get it to you. We're not going to keep this information. It'll only be used to send you the postcards that you have gotten. So thank you very much. We are going to play you out. I realize that some ads may be starting up, and I apologize if that happens, but I'm going to play you out. We're going to end with the Studio Ghibli clock, which is in Shinbashi, Tokyo. We will keep watching the chats. If you have any other questions, I'll continue to answer them in the chat afterwards. So thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again on Akashicon Twitch channel. Thanks.